Yesterday, we discussed on the secondary objects. That these secondary objects also has to be thoroughly noted when they are prominent, when they are significant. So here we touch on the pain. We touch on the bodily pain, the various types of bodily pain. Now, one of the biggest aspect that yogis tend to avoid this pain or dislike the pain is because of a number of misunderstanding about the pain, even before they start to do the noting, or even before they start to do the vipassana practice. Sometimes yogis have the idea of noting the object to make it go away. They are not truly want to see the true nature of the object, but because it is an unpleasant object, very, very fast the mind wants to push it away, and they don't want to pay attention to all these difficult, unpleasant objects. Their whole idea of coming to meditation is only want to see more or less pleasant or neutral objects. So because of that idea that they have, then when it comes to the noting on the pain, on the various types of pain, then the mind wants to make it go away. Now here, this tendency is because we brought up our lives, when we everyday life, anything that is unpleasant, we want to push it away. We want to push it away. We don't want to accept it. We don't want to see it. And yet, our teachings of the Buddha, the fundamental teachings of the Buddha, is the Four Noble Truths. And it begins with yeah, it begins with the first noble truth of dukkha, suffering. Yeah. So you see, because of that contradiction, so when we as a practitioner, as a devotee, when we do not really understand the true nature of the mind, even though the Buddha thought it as the Four Noble Truths, here when we directly encounter dukkha, directly face to face on these unpleasant objects, the mind shrink away. The mind does not see it as it is. Even the teaching of the First Noble Truth is about to able to have a direct connection to it. They call it the full understanding of dukkha. In theory, the First Noble Truth is for you to directly understand it, directly penetrate, directly known. Second Noble Truth is to be fully abandoned, because you want to abandon their craving. Whereas the Third Noble Truth is to be fully realized because of its characteristic of cessation, and it can be only realized. And the Fourth Noble Truth, the Noble Eightfold Path itself, is for us to fully develop. That's what we are doing here. So while we are doing here to develop that mindfulness, to develop the effort, concentration, in order for us to see to directly see or directly not directly experience the dukkha, the various types of dukkha, not for us to avoid it. Uh, Because in the dukkha, it lies the truth, it lies the reality. So therefore, as a vipassana meditator, then these various aspects of pain, various aspects of unsatisfactoriness of various parts of the body, they will definitely arise one way or another. So when the opportunity arises during in the sitting, especially in the sitting, when the strong pain arises, your job is not to shrink away. Your job is to fully pay attention to it by observing, by noting the true nature of the dukkha, of the bodily pain. Yeah? Uh, So see them. Don't wish them to go away. Don't wish them to stay. Don't wish them to do what you're abiding, what you want it to do. Your job is to see them. Sometimes it increase, or most of the time actually it increase. Sometimes it kind of diminish and disappear. It may come up again later on. So your job is to see them as they are. So noting it is not to make it go away. Noting it for you to see its true nature. Once you see, when you see its true nature in various ways, at the same time, the mindfulness, the concentration, the penetrative power becomes stronger. Become stronger, become more continuous, which is very helpful for your development of this vipassana. The other, the other one is also wrong understanding of this dukkha, is of this pain, bodily pain, is that yogis, sometimes some yogis, they are very strong-minded and they can sit with the pain. They are very mentally very strong. They can sit with the pain, although they can bear up with the pain, but then they are not actually noting the pain. They're not actually observing the full nature of how the pain is changing, what it's doing, and so on. So a yogi, this time, although the quality of that bearing up, the endurance is there, so too, the next quality is to examining, to investigate the true nature of how this pain is like. What is the nature? What type of pain arises? Is it a heart pain, pulling pain, cramming pain, twisting pain? And how this pain intensify? Is the pain changes here and there? Uh, and how sometimes also the pain affects the mind. It affects the thinking, it affects the doubt, it affects the aversion, and so on. Uh, so that is for you to notice them. So therefore, you still need to bear up. As I said, to able for us to bear up with this pain. Therefore, the walking meditation is very important, especially on the slowest phase. And you do it thoroughly on the lifting, pushing, dropping. Once it build up that mindfulness and that effort around, at that time you take it over to the sitting. Then when the pain arises, you can see that you can withstand the pain, you can endure the pain for a longer period of time. Sooner or later, you can endure it up to the whole hour without changing any position. Yeah? So that will be good, no matter how strong the pain. Yeah. So, what else? Another type of yogi is that they have a misunderstanding about pain or even vipassana objects, is that when they look at the pain, they look at it from far away. And that means, other words, they look from them from a very superficial manner. They're not really truly investigate how the pain is like, but they just sit there and just, yes, they are not, not knowing of the pain. They know the pain, but they are not investigate. They are not able to discern the pain further. They are just sit there with the pain, nice and easy. And that time when you do that, the pain is not very painful. It's just there. But when you pull it closer or when you note it, the nature of mindfulness is to magnify the quality of every object whenever it landed on. So when the mindfulness landed on the pain, it magnifies it. That's why you feel painful, difficult, and so on. But there will be times after some time of practice, when you're observing it, it's very painful. But when the moment the bell rings, suddenly the pain disappear. Not it disappear, it kind of diminish, it kind of reduce. Because at that time, the moment the bell rings, your effort, your energy, it goes down. When it goes down, hey, you see, hey, it's not really that painful. But how come I'm sitting it? Wow, it's like unbearable. Because of the nature of the mindfulness at that time is expanding, is confronting, is magnifying the nature of the pain. It's magnified it to become clearer so that you can scrutinize the true nature of the characteristic of the object or the pain here. So too, this mindfulness, whenever you place it uh, um, moment after moment, it makes every object to become magnified, and you can therefore you see its true nature. Just like you put a microscope, you put the microscope on on this microscopic bacteria and so on, then you can actually see them directly. You can, if you have more powerful microscope, then you can see even further into the nucleus, into everything else. Uh, so do the same thing in our meditation, something like that. So this is a few of the wrong perception. So we stop at that. But as I said, there are still a few more here and there, the wrong perception of yogis. When they learn, for example, when you learn all types of Buddhist teachings or even Buddhist meditation, uh, sometimes yogis or devotees or they kind of like mix meditation and everything wrongly. Yeah, they mix it wrongly. For example, when the pain arises, because it's very painful, unpleasant, what they do is that they start using metta. May you be well and happy. May you be free from all the suffering. Because you learn the metta, you learn compassion, and here you are at the moment of suffering, you radiate metta to your pain. Ha! Because why? Again, here you want to avoid the pain. You don't want to feel the suffering. You want to have a more pleasant sitting, because you learn other meditation, you learn other forms of other teachings of the Buddha. Now you think you're smart enough, you applied it to your pain. And occasionally we see yogis did that. Occasionally in the past. Uh, Even these talks, every now and then I give these talks. Yeah. And yeah, and the moment they do it, I mean, immediately I could I could catch them. So you're not supposed to do that. Your job is here as a vipassana meditator is to see them as it is, as to see them as they are. Yeah. Also, there are also at times um, s- yogis, some, not all. Some yogis sometimes when they note this pain, you feel like a hard pain or soft pain. Sometimes some yogis have the idea of like a skeleton or disgusting type of images that comes together with the pain. Yeah, because it's kind of like sometimes the a very hard pain, and then usually with this type of hard pain it projects all the skeleton or something very just unpleasant. Sometimes because of that, they tend to be afraid, or they tend to have fear about sitting with the pain, because of that images kind of like overlap onto the pain. Yeah. So this one also, a yogi also have to be careful not to be too over concerned about these type of images. Some people have that kind of like the skeleton of the images very strong in them. Maybe in their past or in their past lives, they have done all these like 32 parts of the body or projection of the skeleton and so on. Yeah? So maybe in this life, whenever they do this meditation, anything that is unpleasant, the image of that skeleton or something that is unpleasant kind of like pops up, and it makes them in a way fearful. So you don't have to be so too concerned about that image, because that image, they are concept. They are concept. What else? There's also another one who is actually a little bit more advanced in the meditation. Sometimes when we learn about this vipassana, as in the slightly deeper aspect of vipassana, there is what we call beginning, middle, ending. We're gonna touch on that in the slightly further talks. There's a beginning, middle, ending. Mm? This beginning, middle, ending here, because when you learn in theory, okay, when you learn in theory, yes, yeah, as if like you can capture the whole meaning of an object. It begins, it stays, it disappears. So with that knowledge that you have, you try to put it inside to the vipassana object, and here you want to look it into the pain. You put it into the pain. So what happened to some of the yogis is that when they sit down, when the pain is very strong, because of that they have the idea of ending. An object is ending. So the yogi tends to shift the attention to see how exactly it ends. Not, it doesn't want to make it go away like the first example. You know? But this time, because of that idea, they have a beginning, middle, ending. Then the yogi want to keep on seeing the ending part of it. When they don't reach the level, when you don't reach to a certain level, then this ending, it will not show it to you. No matter how you look for it, it will not show you how exactly it completely ends. Beginning, middle, ending of all these objects. Although theoretically you learn all these three together, but when you experience them throughout the development of this vipassana object or development of this vipassana progress, you don't see them all at one time. Sometimes you see only the beginning, not the middle, not the ending. The beginning is prominent, middle, ending, not so prominent. Sometimes the middle is prominent. How exactly it begins and how exactly it ends, not prominent. And other times, the ending is only prominent, beginning, middle, not prominent. Sometimes, on a certain level, the whole tree is prominent, but for a period of time. And then after that, it shows you the ending become prominent, beginning, ending, not so prominent. You see, the development of vipassana, the knowledge when it comes in, or when you're noticing something, don't expect it to be exactly like in the book. Yeah, you should learn to observe as the object is presented to you in that way, not what you think it should be or what you think it must be. Yeah. So this time, as the yogi approach on the pain, this yogi, when they misunderstood it, they want the pain, they want to see how exactly it ends. Because here, when it begins, it's already somewhat quite strong. So the yogi thought that they want to see how it ends. And sometimes, because of that idea, and you haven't seen the end yet, some yogis are willingly or very stubbornly, they sit and sit and sit, sometimes 1 hour, 1.5 hours, 2 hours, and the pain still not ending yet. So they keep on sitting. Oh. Or sometimes, before it actually completely ends, the next one already arisen. you know, this one you see it many times yourself. Before one how end, but another pain already there, or another pain already coming up. Yeah. So so sometimes some yogis, they want to exactly see how it ends, and they're going to push it over time, over the hour and so on. But yet they could not see it, and then they get frustrated. Not only the frustration, but then what will happen the next thing is that because you do it in that way, let's say if the pain is in the knee there, and you try to observe it until it ends, then if you're not careful, this pain, this meditation pain, will turn into a physical pain. Meditation pain here is that you sit down, the pain arises, you observe, 1 hour later you get up, the pain no more or less. It kind of disappear until the next sitting, perhaps. So in between there's not much pain. But here when it turns into physical pain, then you're going to carry that pain throughout the whole day. And not only carry the whole pain, sometimes this pain is going to be problematic while you're still in a retreat. You're going to end up maybe see an orthopedic or whatever, a doctor. And this is not how meditation is supposed to practice. Your body cannot take it. Hmm? So don't overdo on the pain. The pain here is for you to train your mindfulness, not for you to overdo it until you injured the body. So you must learn to feel the limit. So usually 1 hour will be more or less enough. If once in a while you want to add another 5 more minutes, 10 minutes, okay. But don't sit until 1.5 hours. If you're going to sit every sitting 1.5, 2 hours, 1.5, 2 hours, imagine you have how many sitting that you're going to do per day and how many days for you to go. All these things will accumulate and it makes you will have some injury. If it's a temporary, maybe for a week or so, it disappear well and good. Some people for a longer period of time. Yeah, when just not good in that way. So, set it to a limit. We just learn to train it for a limit, and that's about it. And don't use too much our theory. Try to match on the observation. Just learn to see the object as clearly as it can, not thinking of what the object should show you. When you're not on that level, you are not ready for it. It won't show you no matter how much you think about it. Yeah. Sometimes, not just only this, and sometimes yogi learn about arising and passing away, arising and passing away, and at the deeper aspect of development of vipassana. They mindfulness also they are not that clear. These yogis are not even, yeah, they got some practice here and there, but they really want to see the arising and passing away. So eager. If you're so eager, you should come for a longer retreat. Tell you, 2 weeks, 2 weeks too long. Cannot. What do you expect if you meditate that short and then you want a lot of result? Uh, Not yet. You have to practice much more. The result will come. Not to say that they won't, but how much time you want to spend into this practice and you spend it rightly. Also, once in a while or so, we also yogis also see how pain and bodily disease or bodily problems arises and they want to overcome the bodily pain or bodily disease that they have. Sort of like a Dhamma therapy or Vipassana therapy thing. So some people have that idea of if the pain is there, or you have a certain problem of a physical problem is there. Although some people they have cancer and so on, unfortunately, and they expect that by noting the pain, note the pain, and then this pain will sort of like break or disappear, and then their cancer or their disease also disappear. Some people have that idea, so they come into Vipassana meditation for that purpose. Because there are cases once in a while, there are cases that it is said that this yogi, when they meditate, they describe, the pain breaks, then completely the disease disappear. But that is 1 in a million. Yeah. 1 in a million. If your karma, if your past karma is good enough, then maybe yes. But don't expect that it will, you're going to overcome it, with this. I'm, I'm, maybe I'm that lack of compassion, because you are the one, perhaps the person is the one who go through the suffering. Yeah. Maybe a chance. Maybe there's a chance there. Who knows, But if you ask me whether you can actually overcome your disease and so on or not, I cannot tell you it's yes. I cannot tell you that it is, that you will able to do that. So other teachers may promise you this and that. Yeah. Because there are books talking about it. But for me, not to say I'm skeptical, but it's just that I cannot see further than your own karma. I mean, this is your own karma, this is your own practice, and how the meditation is going to cure in that sense. If if it's cure you, then well and good. Yeah? But the whole purpose of this vipassana meditation is not for the curing of this body. It's actually the curing of the mind, the curing of the defilements. Yeah. The defilements is the one that is going to get you from one life after another life. And that is a bigger culprit. Yeah. 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 So again here, we take this pain as solely as an object of training. Yeah. Don't expect it to cure you this and that diseases. I cannot guarantee it here. And my scope of meditation, I come here, I teach you proper way, meditate. But if you hold on to that, all these views and so on, then the burden will be yours. You be carry that burden, then other words, the progress is going to be very slow or not at all. So this small little misconception, the misunderstanding, we have to slowly and slowly put it aside. Now, since we learned to put a number of these things aside, other words, when we come into noting the pain itself, various types of pain of the body, then your job here is to make sure that you have the confidence to really face the pain, the confidence. The confidence doesn't come in just because you have a lot of very long into the Dhamma. Not just because you have a lot of study and so on, about the suttas and so on. That one is not enough. The confidence must come in that you have done something in order for you, when the pain arises, you are brave enough to face it. Here is where, when you do your walking meditation and your daily activities properly, thoroughly, then you build up that, not only the energy, but you build up the confidence. When you come into the pain, then that time when you note the pain, you able to see the pain for a longer period of time before the aversion arises. So when we face the pain here, when we face the pain as the various types of pain arises, so this time, the first thing that you have to notice is the type of pain or the kinds of pain. What type of pain that you are facing right now? Is it a pulling pain, hard pain, soft pain, warm pain, and so on? Sometimes you may not have the vocabulary for that pain. It seems like that and not so like that. Not too worried about the words for it. Just learn to feel it. Once you learn to feel this thing, the second thing is to see its intensity. Intensity that it changes, getting stronger, getting weaker, and so on. This is, you have to pay attention to it, however the pain arises in the body. Sometimes the intensity comes in abruptly, acute. It's like immediately comes home. This one is especially at the spinal area. The spinal type of pain, kind of like quite fast and acute and quite difficult. Sometimes in the other parts of the body, it gradually it builds up. Sometimes you notice that 15 minutes is already there, but it's not that strong. Still bearable. You can still do noticing other objects. But at the background, it's slowly creeping up, getting stronger. Half an hour mark, it gets. Then that time, you have to shift your attention to notice what is going on. Yeah? Then you pay attention to it as it is one. Because of your walking and sitting, this time you can able to face onto the pain and to see its true nature before the aversion arises. Now, while you're noticing here, while you're noticing this thing, again here, all this misconception, you put it aside. And also there are misconception, like sometimes yogis tend to have the idea that you try to mentally analyze, mentally think about it, that maybe the pain arises due to my blood not flowing properly. Because you kind of like I press on it, therefore it's not flowing properly, that's why I have pain. Yeah, you're overthinking about all these things. Yeah. That means you're already gone into thinking. Yeah, so put all the thinking aside. Your job is squarely 100% pay attention to the pain, not judging it, not try to analyze it by thinking, but your job is to analyze it or investigate it by its true nature. So you watch what is really going on with the pain without the thoughts, and you put all the thoughts aside and squarely pay attention to it. Yeah? Then you bear up with it. Usually in the beginning if you're a beginner, or you still think that you're a beginner after you come for a 10 retreats, Now, here, sometimes it's not so easy for us to reach to the 1 hour. Now, this is where your determination, your pushing is going to be helpful. That is to say, perhaps you could sit until like 40 minutes and then you just have to shift the leg and you have to get up. You just cannot take it anymore. Yeah? So what you should do is that, again, the next day, you have to determine yourself, today I'm going to push it for another 5 more minutes. Yeah? At least give yourself a achievable goal. Don't say, I'm going to hit the 1 hour today. Not yet. Because when the pain comes in, every second is like, every second seems to be so long compared to when you are pleasant and nice. Yeah. So the time moves differently whenever there's a pain there, perceptively. Yeah? So don't give yourself not trying to overachieve. So give yourself maybe 5 more minutes, and then by the time you hit the 1 week mark, perhaps that time you could able to sit for about 15 minutes to 1 hour. And you keep pushing and pushing over time. Sometimes you take you a few retreats, then actually you could sit from every hour, you can finish that hour, even no matter how the pain is like. So this is you have to push it through. Yeah? And while we're noticing this pain, however the pain arises, we take notice of the pain, and sometimes the pain can be quite strong, sometimes the pain not so strong. For some of us, in the morning, perhaps the pain may not be that strong yet. In the afternoon comes afternoon, then the pain sometimes can be quite strong because of the progress of the day, and also because of the mindfulness has developed throughout the day, and it accumulates. Therefore, when it comes in the afternoon, objects becomes clear, pain also becomes clear. So learn to sit with it, don't move. Now, the next part on the pain is that you come to your limit. I mean, you really tried and then you hit the limit. When you hit the limit, that is where the aversion starts to come in. The aversion, the doubt, the thinking, and so on, it will start to come in, or even the fear will start to come in. Here you have to take note of this aversion or this fear or this dislike or the thoughts that come in. One of the thoughts that come in that you know that you're already, your mind is already unstable already during that time, is thinking about that clock, about the time. The moment you start thinking about that time, that means aversion is already a reason somewhere behind it. But it comes up firstly as a thinking. You start thinking about whether you can take it or not, whether the leg is okay or not, whether I'm going to have injury or not. If this type of thoughts arises, that means there's some degree of aversion is already behind. Then, other words, it comes in as doubt. It comes as doubt, skeptical doubt about whether you can do it, cannot do it, and so on. Then later part, as the aversion comes up, this time you really dislike, you really want to change, you really want to get out of the whole pain. So therefore, what you should do is that here you have to turn your attention to that thinking mind, and you note it as thinking, or doubting. Or if the aversion arises, and then what you should do? Note them as it is. Aversion, dislike. And I want you to feel how the dislike is this one. It kind of manifests, it gets strong. And here also, when the dislike gets strong, you see that also the body will not sit still. You start to a little bit, not that micro movement start coming in. Not that little you want to fidget, you want to move a little bit just to. You know the feeling. You are the one who meditates. All of us, we go through those things. But it is important for us to acknowledge even that small little movement also. Take note of how all this small little thing is happening while the aversion arises during this time. Now, if you watch this aversion, sometimes you get strong until you really want to give up. But sometimes, if you watch this aversion, the aversion, the dislike, the thinking starts to diminish, but the pain is still there, it's still strong. And that time you will see a contrast that when the aversion disappear, actually the mind can still withstand the pain and still can be okay. It's because of that dislike and aversion and the doubt is always at the background. So to me is that when we start to train in this vipassana, to me it's not how long you can sit. I don't expect beginners yogis to kind of like sit until 1 hour at that time, in the beginning part of it. But what is important to me is the skills, that how you pay attention to your pain. When you develop the skills of doing it, although you can last only say 5 minutes of noticing the pain before you cannot take it anymore, but that 5 minutes is something that you have to develop, and you have to see it and pay attention to it. And when you develop these skills, that means at least you know what to do with the pain. Sooner or later, if you keep on practicing, then this thing will start getting longer. So what we want is that you make sure you have the skills of noticing the pain correctly, and putting all the wrong thinking, wrong thoughts, wrong perception aside, and just squarely pay attention to whatever that is going on with the pain. Hmm? But when you reach to the limit, you really cannot take it. What are you going to do? When the white flag is up, when you throw in the towel, so to speak, what are you going to do this time? Usually is what you do is you shift the body, right? Now here, shifting the body will be the last resort. Try not to shift the body, try not to especially shifting the leg to free from the pain. I know it's difficult. There are two types of movement after, the pain when you really reach cannot. Is that small movements that you shift the body and so on, but you are not shifting the kind of like the legs yet, or the whole body. The second one is that you actually shift the leg away so that the pain is totally disappear. Sometimes they shift the leg is like from the cross-legged. They shift, if the one part of the leg is painful or the knee is painful, you cannot take it anymore, then they shift that leg to the behind, and then the other leg is still cross-leg. Yeah. So, should you or should not do? Should do or should not do? So make sure that is the last resort. If you don't do it as the last resort, the problem with this shifting of the legs or the body, if you're not careful with it, it becomes a habit. Every time the pain arises, instead of watching it, you kind of like that micro movement is there. Yeah? So try to stay as still as possible, not to move the body too much. So stay there as best as you can until you really cannot take it. Shifting here, but sitting, you can shift, especially the legs. You can shift one time will do. Don't do it like you shift back. After 5 minutes, you shift back again. Then after that, the other leg, you shift back. Then you shift. Cannot. There's only, for one sitting, the quota is only one time. One time. If not, you keep on moving here and there. What are you going to... You don't like, you shift it here. You don't like, you shift it there. Cannot. Sit there. Tell yourself, if you have to shift only once. Sometimes if you cannot really take it, then what you can do, you get up and walk for a while. Walk for 5 minutes and then build it up, the mindfulness again, then come back and sit. There's also possibility. But again, here, this is the last resort. Last resort. So push it through with all the difficulty, the pain here. Don't overdo this pain. Don't try to be a hero. Your job is just to make sure you pay attention, not until the pain goes away. 1 hour will be suffice. So, well, bodily pain. Although we go through all this bodily pain in every retreat, the thing is that is the beginning part of the meditation or the beginning progress of the meditation. Pain is part of the progress. It's not to say that pain, I wouldn't say part of the progress, but pain, the difficult bodily pain is that it comes in frequently for beginners. And whether you come in from samatha meditation or any form of meditation, you come into vipassana, you will also experience this pain. Not that you go vipassana and as you go into samatha, you come back, your vipassana is also no pain. No, there's no such thing. You come back, however, you start off with vipassana or you want to start off from samatha to vipassana, you come back, you also will see the nature of the pain. You cannot run away. So it's part of the development itself. So this pain is a lot of times yogi tend to avoid it. They misjudge it, that thinking that if you have pain in the sitting, it's not a good sitting. That's what we mentioned yesterday. It's not about good or bad. It's about if you note your objects carefully, you try your best to note them as much as you can. Even there's a restless mind and you try to notice them again and again, then that particular sitting or that walking is good. Although the objects are unpleasant objects to you. So watch them, see them as much as you can. This on the pain. So this is on the secondary object. Now there are so many secondary objects also. Like now the pain, as I said, they are all here the bodily pain. The more problematic than this pain is the mental pain, is the mental suffering. And that is much more difficult for some yogis to go through. Especially when you have a certain like trauma of the past, or you have a lot of attachment, a lot of desire, a lot of anger, and so on. Then when it manifests, it's very difficult for you to undo. Here, as I said, the pain, the bodily pain here, if it's too painful, you get up, you take a walk, more or less it's gone. The next sitting, let's fight again. But the mental suffering, that type of suffering that you go through due to fear, due to anger, due to attachment, and so on, or sadness, and so on, those things are difficult to undo. We're going to look into that also when it comes maybe tomorrow. We'll look into it and how some of these defilements are also we're going to look into it too. But now another one also I want to stress on this, one of the secondary object is on our standing meditation. On the standing meditation. Now, when we do this walking meditation, most of the time we pay attention to this one. But when it comes to the stopping, so what do we do during this time? Yeah. So again here, this is secondary in a way. They are secondary object for the walking, although it's a standing. It's a totally different posture. But we take it as also part of meditation objects. So what you can do in the standing posture is that this time, if you want to notice the standing, you have to give it a bit more time. Other words, when you finish, you come to the end of your walk, you stand there, and you stand for extra maybe few more minutes. Up to you. Yeah, and this time, learn to notice the body. How do we notice the body here? We notice from the head. We scan it down. While we scan it down, we label it as standing, 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 because you are in a standing posture. So learn to feel the whole body standing, 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 standing. And then, while you notice this thing, while you're labeling it, then also at the same time, you look for a strong, more dominant sensation that arises throughout the whole body. Perhaps this time let's say the 2 feet underneath are clear, and the pressure. Then you notice the pressure there. Then this time you notice how it is being pressed. If, let's say, one leg has a stronger pressure than the other leg, your job is not to make it the same. Your job is just to notice it, the difference. Don't try to counter it. If so happen when you stand there and you relax and you find that the body is slightly bent towards, let's say, on the left side, then notice it in such a way. Not that, I mean, after that you must think that no, the body must be balanced so that I don't have all. Again, this is your thinking. You're analyzing too much, even that small little thing. So let the body shows you what it want to show you. All these small little thing, even it's slightly bent a bit, fine. Just take note of it. Oh, it's the posture is slightly bent to one side. Or if it leans forward a little bit, then be aware of it. If it's sometimes when you notice all these things, after a short while, perhaps the body will know how to sort of like straighten it back again. Yeah. So your job is to see all this micro movement as it happens, or the posture as it happens. Don't try to change it too much. Perhaps there are other times you need to change it by all means. But there are a lot of things that not necessary for us to change here and there. And while you're standing there, so you observe. So the pressure may not be the same. You take it as it is. Sometimes if you stand there, if you put your hands together to the front or the back, then you can able to notice the pressure of the palms as you hold. Then notice them. Mm. Sometimes they are a bit sweaty, a bit warmed, and so on. Your job again here not to let it go yet, but to see it as it is. To see them as they are. If once in a while the rising and falling may come in, and then notice the rising and falling for a while. To pay attention to the whole process of rising and falling while standing. Yeah. Uh, in order for us to take note of this standing, you have to get used to it. For some people, standing time, kind of like they feel a little bit dizzy. And because sometimes when they stand there, it feels like the body is like slight micro swaying on its, not really still, but they kind of like a little bit sway here and there. Externally, when somebody look at you, it's not clear at all, but internally, when you feel it, it's like kind of like a pendulum there. You kind of like, oh. And some people, some yogis, they may have some a bit of get dizzy, nauseatic. If that happen, if you cannot take it, might as well make the intention to turn or perhaps start walking again. Yeah. Standing meditation is a skill, just like sitting meditation. Here you stand for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you try to notice them or what is going on, which is wonderful because the main thing that what we do here is the walking part. In other places in Burma, there's this standing meditation and you stand there for 1 hour. Just like you sit for 1 hour. But this one is stand for 1 hour. You stand for 1 hour, you also will experience the various pulling, various difficulties of the body. So the same thing, pay attention to them. Yeah. Uh, Standing meditation also is good, like whenever or once in a while, like you are drowsy. It's during sitting. So during sitting, sometimes it's quite drowsy, and then you feel like you cannot take it anymore. Then this time you get up. You get up, and then you do the standing. It will be good while you do the standing, you open the eyes. If you close the eyes, then again, you get groggy again. And so you kind of open the eyes. So too, other times also when you're standing, it's so advisable to open the eyes and not to look elsewhere. It's always good to face the wall. To face the wall because nobody is walking, everybody is walking behind you. So you face the wall and then you do the standing meditation for a longer period of time. So too, when you get up from the drowsiness, you stand. So too, you do the same thing like what I've mentioned just now. Look for some prominent object so that it can stir up the mind again. Sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it is not so helpful. Perhaps the walking will be better. Hmm? So back again to the standing. So you stand there. So you make sure you stand there and you try it out and see what do you notice. Sometimes there's a lot of sensation is trying to show you. Yeah? So because so many hours of walking, sitting, so just do an extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes per day. Yeah? And try it and see how the body is responding to the whole and your mind is responding to the whole standing meditation. Okay? So we stop here for the night. We'll continue on the talk tomorrow.